Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Swingman Podcast. It's podcast number 130, wherever you're listening to on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching us here on YouTube. Please consider hitting that subscribe button and leaving a like on the video. This week, we're going to be talking about, as you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, the OKC Thunder. But before we jump into the OKC Thunder, as I do every single time we jump on and do a podcast or video, chaps, how you doing? Louis, you go first. How's everything? How's life?
Yeah, all right, mate. Busy.
Well, that was a depressing year, though. You get a bit more upbeat.
Yeah.
We're talking about the OKC.
You caught me on the wrong day, I think.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the eve of the Premier League season over here as well. I think we've hit a bit of a sort of dry spot in NBA terms, and we're in that sort of post-free agency. Yeah, Damian Lillard every single day. There's just some sort of very new minor update where it doesn't seem like anything is happening, but this is a team I'm excited to talk about personally. I think a lot of people have high hopes for them this season. I think it's fair to say. Maybe the sort of pick for a breakout team out of the whole of the NBA. So it'll be interesting to sort of dive into them, I think.
Yeah, Lewis, how you doing?
Yeah, not bad. As Louis said, we're a bit starved for the major sports at the moment. Just waiting for them to all come back, and we're in that period of it's not just as the season's ended, so all the teams are trying to make moves and we're getting excited about what potentially happened, and it's not right at the start where everything gets going, so we are in a bit of no man's land at the moment where we just get a little game update every other day or every week.
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's obvious that we're going to be talking about the OKC today. So in the aspect of where we've normally gone on this, and we did this last week more with Victor Wembanyama, and we spoke about what the Spurs' sort of aspirations were for next season. They're not similarly aligned in that they came off a really, really terrible, tiresome season like the Spurs did. There was good optimism around OKC and what they had and what they're building. And now, obviously, this year, they're going into another year of Shea under their belt. Josh Giddey's there. Jalen Williams was really, really good towards the back end as well of last season. And obviously, the main one, they've got Chet coming back in now, hopefully fully healthy by the time the opener runs around for this NBA season. Last year, they came off of a 40-42 record, so they were negative in that regard. But I think I wouldn't even say cautious optimism. I would say there's a lot of optimism around what we are expecting to see from OKC this year.
Yeah, I would say it's not even sort of optimism, or even hope. I think there's a bit more sense of expectations now. Shea is obviously an incredible player, made all NBA last year, one of the, I gotta say, top 3 or 4 point guards in the league. So with that, I think you have the expectation of pressure, basically. Like you need to give this guy a team to compete with, and they done better than I thought they would do last season. Obviously, made the play-in. I think this time round, it's an expectation for them to go, I think, one step further and maybe solidify like a firm playoff spot. No sort of play-in, you're in there. Maybe even, I think some people have a stretch to sort of a home court advantage type of team. I think it's kind of similar, I guess, to where we were looking at the Memphis Grizzlies a couple of years ago, where they had quite a strong unit. They drafted really strongly. Obviously, the Thunder have had a lot more picks to go through and a lot more picks in terms of trading Russell Westbrook and Paul George a couple of years ago. So they are really loaded with young offensive and young defensive talent. I think where their pitfalls may be is obviously that veteran leadership, we would say. I know Shea's been around the block for a long while. He's played in the playoffs. So has Lou Dort. There's another member there. But the rest of this team is pretty fresh and pretty young-faced. And with that can come with a hint of inexperience where you're losing close games, that type of thing. But I think from a talent standpoint, they're more than well enough equipped to go for that solid playoff spot, maybe even a home court team. I'm not sure if you think that is overrating their abilities, but
so I mean the way in which we'd say overrate. So if you're watching this on audio or if you're watching this via video right now, if you're on Spotify, you can see we've got the OKC Thunder's depth chart up here as well, and you can see I think that starting 5. I mean, from what OKC had and then how they went into the pits. They're coming out here with Shea, Giddey, Dort, Jalen Williams, and Chet as a starting 5. It's going to be they're no scrubs. There's no weak link in that team. Lou Dort is an elite defender, all right. He's the idea of that he's not a great scorer and things like that, but there's plenty of scoring between the backcourt and also Chet in the middle. So I think their issue at the moment will be is if one of them goes down, which it would affect every team, of course, if one of your main best starters goes down. There is still that lack of depth is the only thing I would say right now. Of just in that second unit, there is a noticeable drop off. There isn't a couple of those sort of 6-man, 7-mans that you can solely rely upon. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think next year you're going to be not looking at a playing spot. You're going to be looking at a playoff spot for the OKC. And home court, I think, would be a really good season if they pull that off.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen madder things. I get the vibe that this could be a bit like the Kings were this year. Is the only thing I'm getting from it.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay. I think basically a playoff spot is the goal at a bare minimum for this OKC team. You just, as you say, they've got such a good young core. Their best player who came off what was basically an MVP caliber season. I know he wasn't ever in the running to win it, but he was putting up ridiculous numbers, and you'd expect at 25 that obviously how much more can you really push from that, but you'd expect him to just kick on from there. And then you've got players like Josh Giddey who can impact the game on basically all levels offensively. He's also a great rebounder, tall for his position. He has said himself he needs to improve his free ball over the next few seasons, and I would definitely agree with that. But we did see an uptick in his field goal percentage and his scoring. So I think that trend should continue. And then obviously you got Chet coming back, who is going to be in the running with Wemby for Rookie of the Year because he didn't play last year. And when you see those young players, along with Jalen Williams, who I think he ended up second place Rookie of the Year last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I think he did. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, regardless, he obviously had a great season. He's a great player. So you look at that and you think, even if they don't have the depth that some other teams have, as you say, they should at least be getting a playoff spot. When you look at the West, it is very, very tough to push into that top four and maybe get a home court. It isn't unheard of, as we saw the Kings did it last year. And I think when you match up player for player, at least at the top end, you like the Thunder about as much as the Kings probably. It's just as the overall team, the Kings have definitely got the edge, but overall squad, I should say.
Yeah,
I just basically say it just to highlight that it's not unheard of, as you say. But personally, I don't think they'll be getting a home call. They would need Chet to basically be a borderline all-star player immediately, which he could be, and Shea to continue, which I think he will. The numbers that he was doing last year.
I mean, yeah, I do agree on the depth point, but I do think it's a case of a lot of these guys we just don't know as well because we're not watching as much Thunder games. I mean, I like Isaiah Joe, and that guy that you can see that I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name, like Vasily Micic. He's actually the
one that's come over from Europe.
Yeah, he's a 29-year-old rookie, but former EuroLeague MVP, a couple-time EuroLeague champion. I think that's a pretty bulky player to be bringing in just on your bench. That's a pretty high talented player. So that when you think about that, and you just sort of, they had an impressive season last season. I know they didn't get over 500, but given with what they had, I think it was impressive. And then when you think you just add this guy, you add in Chet, who I think maybe we can have a more in-depth discussion about maybe. And they had another top 10 draft pick as well. I think Carson Wallace. Cason Wallace?
Yeah.
That's a strange name.
Yeah.
But he's more of a defensive specialist anyway. And I think that's probably where you would say maybe that is also one of their pitfalls. And if you're bringing in Chet, who I think will be a good defender right away in a similar type of way that we discussed about Wemby, of course he's slender. Of course he's going to get pushed around maybe by the bigger fives in the league. But that length that he has, that mobility that he seems to have as well, he'll be able to defend at all sort of three levels in the NBA and cause issues. And I think we saw that in his sort of summer league performances last year. I can't remember the block numbers he was racking up, but it was higher than Wemby's and it was impressive. And I think, he'll have a real sort of go at Rookie of the Year this year. It might be offensively, with Rookie of the Year, it's always about who can put up high numbers, right? And I'm not sure he's going to be able to come in and do that right away, especially if Shea has a lot of those shots. Talk about Josh Giddey. But I think him and Josh could have a good connection there, a good combination. I see Josh as more of the playmaker and Shea as the scorer in that backcourt anyway. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does because he's a player who, I mean, there were real talks of him or Banchero at number one, weren't there? And he's just got that sort of transformative defensive persona that I think can really elevate this team to another level.
It'll be interesting to see as well because obviously he's bulked up from what he looked like when he was coming out of the draft last year. He has put weight on. He has bulked up. So I still think he will. I agree with you. I still think he'll get dominated by the ADs and the like and things like that are going to be they're just physically unmatchable and unguardable against him. But I think he'll offer a different dynamic than you would get off of an AD and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works. The only thing that you also want when these players are is just them to stay healthy. Like I want to see him play a 70 league game season. Like I don't know if we're going to get that, but that's what you want to see come from the OKC. The other thing I want to talk about is that we mentioned that obviously I know we're saying depth for the OKC without really knowing too much of these sort of second, third rate unit guys that they've got. But just from sort of how you'd look at them and how you take the OKC as a package, you would say that right now their starting five is pretty decent, but they're lacking a couple of those key core, known around the league guys that could come in and can do a job for them. And the thing that I want to ask you two is, and in the theme of the rebuilding the NBA sort of series that we've been doing here in the off season, when you take a look at sort of what the Thunder have got going on, I mean, 35 picks is just an astronomical, outrageous amount to even consider and talk about. I mean, my mouse wheel is going to break by the time I get through all of these of how we go down. But they've got picks for days upon year on year on year from 2024 all the way down to 2030. So they are stacked with a good starting five, and then they can take enough gambles on if someone comes around where they feel, okay, we can add to the squad here, we can just shore ourselves up, or go after that sort of star, which hasn't really happened, I'd say, in terms of OKC being that market before. But the league and where it is right now, there's so many options and players that are getting disgruntled every single year that I think they can just throw a bag at a team in terms of picks and get someone back that could then complement a Shea and a Chet in a couple of years' time and make them legitimate title contenders. I don't know if I'm going over the top on that one there, but...
No. I mean, when we preview any of the NBA teams in like 5 years' time or 5 years plus, I think OKC is the one that always jumps out purely because they have, I think it is the most amount of picks any team has had in NBA history, like as a collection. So you obviously, with the young starting five they've got, you're going to throw them out as the team that's going to have that longevity throughout this decade, let's say. And it is interesting when you talk about gambling on a player because obviously we haven't seen them do that this season. I think that's indicative of where they think they are. I don't think they're at the point where they're just going to throw a couple first and a couple of players that, like, I don't know, I've seen Markkanen and DeRozan being thrown out as players, Siakam that they could potentially go for now. I would be surprised if they pulled the trigger on that this season. I think this season's still a season of growth for them before they really pull the trigger on something like that. And I know we talked about depth before, and when I talk about it, I'm mainly talking about quality depth and having a couple of vets on their team because they've actually got 20 players on their books at the moment, I think, and they need to get it down to 15. So whether that's just cutting players or maybe if they are going to do some moves, they take on some players that they can waive or find a way to get rid of and take a couple of like second rounders or something in response. I know I saw a couple for like Otto Porter Jr. Maybe they could chip a couple of players to the Raptors and take a second or something and get him off their books just to shorten down their squad because they do have just too many players at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting to see where they'll go with all those picks because, I mean, at some stage you need to stop sort of using those for your actual team and when they're getting into, I guess, like a window where they feel like they have a legitimate opportunity to win, that's when they're saving that cachet for that. I would agree with Lewis, really. But, we've seen, I don't want to keep comparing them to Memphis, but it's the only other team that I can really think who are in a similar position in this same conference quite recently, and they seem quite reluctant to use the young players or the picks that they have to bring in. They were linked with OG Anunoby last year, all those sort of Raptors players, and I do think they needed someone at that stage. But maybe there is a point where, you look at the Denver Nuggets last year and you think those two, particularly Jokic and Murray, but then you got Michael Porter Jr. there as well, has been there for a couple of years. They've got the benefit of having played together consistently for the last couple of years, and you saw how that chemistry helped them. Whereas, when they played against the Suns, Booker and Durant had played like 4 games together, and they didn't have that same type of synergy. And I mean, the last time we saw the Thunder have like a generational young team, that's really how they done it. They didn't really go out and try and shop themselves for a big player. Even though you're right, OKC Oklahoma isn't a free agency destination. They're more of a sort of homegrown team in a sense, and I think that's how Sam Presti likes to do it. He drafts well. You can't deny that. The man can draft a player. So those picks will be used at some stage. I can't see them just keep on getting young players. But I don't think it's going to be a wholesale. There's not a big star right now, basically, that I think notably improved them or really fits with what they're doing anyway. So it'll be a couple of years, but we'll have to see. There'll be a disgruntled player at some stage that I'm sure they can get together a package for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think there's this is going to be a shorter episode on the NBA side of things. I don't think there's particularly too much else to mention on the OKC. But the thing that I do want to ask, and I did ask this for the Spurs. So and again, I'll bring it back up here. As you can see, last year they were 40 and 42. And I do like playing the game of the over-under with these. I don't know if either of you saw this before you came on.
No.
Where would you put? Do either of you know their line for this year?
No, I don't. That's good. I like that last time that we didn't know. To see.
So, where would you put the OKC line for their over-under this year then?
I'm gonna say. No, hang on. Let me have a look. No bit better.
Louis, you got any thoughts on the dome right now? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. It's classic work. Faux pas.
I'm gonna say I'll go. I'm gonna say okay. I think they're gonna have a bit of hype going into it, which inflate it by a couple. I don't think it's too much. I'm gonna say 44.5 for them. That was what I was going to go. If that's what I was going to go for, I'm going to go for that as well. I was going to say 44.5. That would put them. That'll put them right in contention, I think, of potentially challenging for a home court. I think they'll just falter and then end up in like a 5th, 6th seed, because I do think that 4th seed, 5th seed, the wins will go up a little bit next year, because I think a couple of teams are going to improve.
Yeah.
So you're both going for 44.5. I feel like I'm being hoodwinked here. I'm being led astray because the bookies have got them at 44.5 anyway. I say the bookies, the only bookie that I've used for this. They have them at 44.5. Well, they're favouring them to go under. The odds are actually in favour of them to go under the 44.5, but that's where the line is set. And I think 5 extra wins with a fully fit Shea and Chet is not out of the realm. No, I really don't.
It's not. I feel like they've basically done a similar thing to what I've just done in 2 minutes, which is looked at what happened last year and maybe the year before, seen roughly roundabout what wins have got in contention for maybe getting that 4th seed, and they think they're probably going to be there and thereabouts. So I can understand why they'd go under as well, purely because I think they had the expectation, or most people had the expectation, that they are going to be more of a 5th, 6th seed than push and get that home court.
Yeah, I mean that's it for me. I don't think it's too out of the realms for it. But
we haven't mentioned the X factor here, which is Poku right at the bottom of the deck chart.
the 2K legend himself. the 2K My Team legend, Aleski Pokazeski. I mean, we haven't mentioned him, but I don't think it's going to be.
No, he's not going to play.
Does he move? He doesn't move to Eagle, does he?
Yeah, there's a reason we haven't mentioned him. Yeah, the only last thing I'd say. Yeah, the only last thing I'd say is it's interesting you talk about Jokic and Murray, because I think one thing that really aided them is just how naturally their games fit together, and that is something that you saw in the playoffs, especially offensively. Well, basically offensively, is that they just couldn't. No one could guard them really. And when you look at who the OKC have got, I think there were some growing pains between Shea and Josh Giddey trying to figure out how that backcourt was going to work out. But I think last season they basically laid the blueprint for it. And then you have a centre like Chet with those two guards. It should fit seamlessly.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see indeed. Have either of you got anything else that you want to say upon the OKC Thunder? We didn't mention this man right here. We didn't touch too much on Josh Giddey. I know we normally do our predictions towards the start. I think he's going to be one of those players that will be in most improved conversations potentially for next year.
I don't
we'll
think
see.
he will be. I don't think he will be personally, just because I think he won't improve his numbers to the point where, because with most improved, it is always who improves their numbers a lot on a good team, and that I feel like people pay more attention to that than they do actually thinking of how they've changed or impacted their game over the year. And I think with Giddey, he put up a decent stat line last year, and with Chet taking some of the shots away from him potentially, but maybe also increasing his playmaking to take some, give some. I just don't think it'll be at the point where he will be in that conversation. I think the only way, or a potential way he could, is if, as I said before, he said he needs to work on his free ball. If his free ball really takes a jump, I think it was 26% in the first year, 32 in the second. If he gets that in like the 38s, which he probably won't, but I think he'll probably land around 35 for the year. Then that will bump up his scoring, and he'll get the playmaking from having Chet on the team. Maybe that elevates him to it, but I'd be surprised.
Be surprised indeed. Right. Well, we'll wrap that there then for the OKC. We did pretty well in the timing for that one. And overall, in a summarized fashion, we're pretty confident, and we're optimistic as an outlook on the OKC Thunder. And we'll move into our tier list that we'll do this week, which I myself have provided. And all this talk about the OKC Thunder, it's got my belly rumbling a little bit here. I'm a little bit peckish. So why don't we rank the UK's current fast food and / table restaurants?
We're going to be about half an hour.
Nah. There's not loads here. So, and some of these we won't have been to. But what we're going to do is I'm going to say the brand that's at the bottom, and then we're going to see where we are. And again, like normally, we'll go on that demographic. I'll set it up for the YouTube. So hold on a second. Right, here we go. This is going to be our UK fast food tier list of what we've got here. Some of these I wouldn't even describe as fast food, but here at the Swingman Podcast, we're going to rank them for you, and you're going to thank us later. If you disagree, put it in the comments down below. Anyway, let's get started. Beef Eater. I can't remember the last time I went to a Beef Eater, if I'm being completely honest with you.
I've never been to
it. If I'm honest,
I've also never been.
Oh, we've never been. So we're gonna just whack that there.
Well, if you've been, I trust your opinion. So, I don't
it's like
your opinion, actually, because that will come back and bite me when we argue on something else.
It's like a bland harvester. Is what I'd say. It's like sort of, the sort of like quick pub food that isn't a pub, like that sort of thing.
We're setting the precedent for the harvester.
If Brewers Fair is the exact same.
If that's how you're describing it, I think I'll put it down, to be honest.
Brewers Fair, I would say, is arguably worse than Beef Eater anyway, so I'd put it there. They're the same sort of ilk.
Also never had.
We'll whack it there for now, and then we'll see how it goes. Burger King, where are we feeling? I don't think anyone's putting Burger King best of the best, though, are they?
I'd put it in average. It's all right.
I'd put it in average. Average is where BK lives.
My opinion on Burger King will always remain that I think their burgers are better than McDonald's, but I think everything else is so much worse.
It's worse. I agree. The saving grace for Burger King is when I'm off for United, they've always got Fanta Frozens now at Burger King, and that is something that is, they're acting that little niche market. Chop Wok. Not only have I never been, I've never seen a
I've
Chop
never
Wok
heard of
ever.
that. Yeah, I've also never.
If
heard
anyone
No.
is watching this and you're from the UK and you've seen a Chop Wok, please let me know where you live, because I just like the town, because I want to see like where they exist, because we're in London and we've never seen them. Creams. I've been to a cream once and I didn't even get like an ice cream or something for it. So I think I'd rather eat at home than go to a cream. But I imagine the waffles are still good, but I'm never going out and be like, yeah, I want a waffle and ice cream.
I'm
yeah,
not a dessert person, really.
I've never been creams either, so I don't know.
You never been? I've been. I'm just not a fan of dessert restaurants. I don't really get them personally.
I don't get the niche, no.
Are you more of a starter than dessert person? Because I'm definitely more of a starter than dessert person.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm more a dessert than starter person, but I wouldn't go out for a dessert. That's the weirder thing. Domino's.
Oh.
Well, I think we have a limit to how many go best of the best. Should we do 3 or 5?
Do you want me to throw out a controversial? Actually, it's not even controversial, but I'll throw this out there. I personally wouldn't put any pizza takeaway place like a Domino's or a Papa John's in best of the best. I just don't.
Oh no, neither would I. But I'm saying
No.
just for reference, should we have like a limit, or should we just see how we go right now?
We'll see how we go.
We'll see how we go. Yeah.
I would have Domino's here though. I wouldn't have it in the same level.
Yeah, it's decent. I'd basically have. I know this is also controversial, and we'll get to this later. I personally think the 3 big pizza chains, they're basically all about the same. I really don't think there's much.
I think so, generally.
I disagree wholeheartedly with that fundamental statement. Ed's Diner, I'd put as an average meal. It's quite expensive for what it is, but it's an average meal, I'd say,
It's still going
for how much it costs. Yeah, still going. There's one over at Lakeside.
It's closed. It's closed.
Well, is that closed?
No, Lakeside is, but...
Well, you never know. I think there's one at Blue Water. I'm sure there's one at Blue Water. I think it is slowly dying. I think it's slowly dying out, though. I will say that. I think it's going to be like, we'll skip to them now. I think it's going to be like your Frankie and Benny's, of which the only one of them I know is at the O2 in London.
That was okay, though.
Frankie and Benny's in a while.
I think that was okay, actually.
But was it?
Well, no.
Was it not just?
I mean, it's all relative, isn't it?
It is all relative. Yeah. I think for the idea of a sit-down meal in an Italian restaurant, of which this is meant to be, I thought it was quite average food.
I mean, let's be honest, Frankie and Benny's is not meant to be an Italian restaurant. It's an American diner that serves some Italian-American food.
Yeah, all right. Okay, it's an American-Italian. It's an American-Italian. Okay, fair enough, then you got me there.
I do think I'm just looking at the tiers on this now. I do think we're going to have a problem where we're going to be putting most of them in average or good. I think
that's fine. That's what most things average out to.
But that's what this tier list is for. We are sorting these out for the people because they are confused at where to go to for their eats. Is what we're doing right now. 5 Guys. I'm going to hear your opinions first.
I would put it in good eats for now, but personally, I could be persuaded to put 5 Guys in best of the best.
I think it is best of the best, yeah. I'm just thinking of everything here. I think it's probably the thing that I would want to eat the most. So, in that case, best of the best, I guess.
Right now,
I know you're not going to agree.
No. I do like a 5 Guys, but there is one on here that I prefer more. But we'll get to that debate when we cross that. GBK, I would put as an average meal. I think there are nice things on that menu. I like GBK. Like they had what was it? They had like a pancake. The onion rings they do at GBK are unbelievable.
Oh yeah, really good.
They're so good. The panko onion rings.
The problem with putting GBK in this sort of list is you then look at it and you think you've got it next to Burger King, and GBK is. I'm not gonna lie, the burgers are much better than Burger King.
They are, but they're more expensive though. Well, to be fair, they're not actually that more expensive. But
I would put GBK in. Even though I'm not I like GBK, I don't think it's great, but I would put it up into good eats just because I think it's better than Burger King. I
would agree. I think it's a good eats as well.
We'll put it in good eats then. I'm going to upset a lot of people here, I feel, but I'm going to do that.
I agree.
I'd put it in average. I think, do you know what? I think Greggs gets overhated because it's one of those things where It's
overhated. You think Greg's gets overhated?
Yeah,
I think Greg's gets too much hype.
So listen. So I'm going to go through the process. So basically, I was watching something of it was a couple of Americans talking about Greg's, and someone was saying it was like, oh, I went and it was there was so much hype and it was just whatever really. And I think the issue with Greg's is it's such a cult classic that people. I think there's another thing on this list that suffers from this, but I do think it's
these tier lists are for speed. We don't have time for
okay. Let me quickly say it gets overhyped as a cult classic, so that people make it out to be more than it is. When if you just accept it for what it is, which is a nice little place to just go grab a sausage roll or a steak bake or just having lunch.
Fundamentally, unless you're going there for a sausage roll, a steak bake, or a sausage bean and cheese melt, it's average bland food. And even then, those three are average bland foods. They're good, but they are bland.
We are southern. We are southern.
But it's more the point. Like, they are just bland. A sausage roll is pretty much a bland food. Let's be honest.
But I still love a sausage roll, so I would put it in average. I've gone to Greg's more than most of the things on this list, so that's
but that's because it's just the easiest, and there's 4.5 million of them in the country.
But that's why it's great average food.
Ooh, Harvest
I'd have harvested rather eat at home. I think it's bang average food,
and
it's like not cheap, and it's not cheap at all. It's not like it's a good deal. You will spend 15.
Like a salad bar, though. Does that not push it up?
But the salad bar's not even good anymore. It's all like half the stuff's normally missing.
I feel like that's the argument with Harvester every time. It's if you didn't have a salad bar, no one would go.
Yeah, I've never been to a Hungry Horse, nor have I been to I don't even know what that is. I think that's just
Casper's
desserts.
Yeah, so yeah. No, I've never been there.
Is it just like a creams?
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
I don't know.
KFC, I'd have here.
I think it's average personally, but.
I would have KFC and Good Eats. I feel like
you have KFC every time you go Arsenal.
Nah.
Oh no, you have Greek food now. Going Greek, don't you? Yeah.
KFC is one of the takeaways where you can feel truly disgusting eating it, and it's so oily and so greasy. But I do actually just really like the taste of it. In terms of takeaways, so I would have it in Good Eats.
Where we putting it?
Good Eats is fine. My view is tainted because I've just felt a bit ill after KFC on a few occasions. So.
The thing is I'd rather have those three over a KFC.
Yeah, so it's an order. Okay.
I'm not even.
I'm not sure.
I'll leave it there for now. We'll adjust it at the end, but I'll put it there. Considering Louis, I'm not sure, so I'll put it there. I'm going to put McDonald's in best of the best, and I'm not hearing any arguments from that.
Yeah,
it is the GOAT.
People like to go against it because it's just the main one everyone goes to. But at the end of the day, there's a reason it's the main one everyone goes to.
Yeah. I also think this is overhyped, but unfortunately, it does live there.
Yeah.
So that's what I was talking about before with the Greg one. I think this suffers from the same cult classic overhype, and maybe obviously where we're all from is Nando's country. Let's be honest. So we're going to push it up further, but I would also put it there just because it's a comfort thing, but
it is.
It never lets you down. It never lets you down.
It's slyly getting quite over expensive for what it is that I
want to maintain.
And Nando's now is like 20 quid for what it used to be, where you could get like a little butterfly chicken, spicy rice and garlic bread for sort of 12 quid with a drink. Now you're looking at 20 quid and they're taking the mickey with it. I feel a little bit here.
I agree.
Papa John's I think is an average meal. I know it's better than Domino's, so I'll put it below.
I think it's the exact. Well, it's not the exact same.
They're not the exact same
level.
We have preferences there. Oh, I like Pizza Express.
Yeah, I still think they're in the same tier.
I like Pizza Express. Pizza Express is a good eat, I think. Their pizzas are always good.
I prefer that type of pizza to the heavy takeaways, so I would have it.
I'm going to put Pizza Hut in here because I think when you go into a Pizza Hut, it's actually much better than it is takeaway. So I don't think they're that bad.
Of the American style pizza places, which is obviously Domino's, Papa John's, Pizza Hut, obviously it gets the benefit of being an in-house restaurant, and usually you expect to jump in quality there.
Yeah.
But the American style ones, I think it does it the best.
I think it's pretty decent for what it is. So I'm happy for it to live. I think there is a fall off between Papa John's and the other two. I think those two are decent, but that's that.
Yeah, I don't care enough to distinguish between.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. If you feel so strongly about it, I'm not that bothered because once again, like all pizza places are all right.
If you're from any part of Northern England and you see what I'm about to do, please do write into
I was going to
us
say this.
at Swingman Pod on Twitter with your complaints. But Pret food is better than Greg's food. It just is. It just is. I won't hear otherwise.
Just sandwiches.
It's not. Nah, but they've got sandwiches. They've got the hot food, the hot spicy meatball rub, the coffee. The drinks are clear. The coffee is rubbish. Yeah. But in general, and then all the little pastries and stuff they got, they're better than the crappy. Young Lamb is pretty elite from Greg's though.
I think the pastries from Pret are very much whatever. I'll be honest, but the little baguettes they do are actually very nice. So I will say, as the only person who has lived over London. Out of the three of us, obviously I have to back my boys and put Greg's up into average as well. But
Greg's breakfast is better. A Greg's breakfast is better, but for lunch and anything else, I will stand on Pret.
All right. Well, I will have to disagree there.
Prezzo, I'll put as an average meal.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'd rather go to Pizza Express than a Prezzo. So
once again, I do think they're about the same level. So I would just put good eats.
But it's just slight differences between them.
I don't think it's enough to move it into a different tier though. Is the only thing I'd
Shake Shack, I'd put in good eat. I'm not going to go for the debate on Five Guys with Shake Shack, but I don't. I think Shake Shack is clear of all of those in average meal, and I'm not hearing that.
So we have argued Five Guys, Shake Shack to the ends of the earth. Between the three of us. But once again, it is the case. It is the case of I see Burger King in average, and it would be doing Shake Shack a disservice to put it on the same level. I would also say, when it comes to getting chicken or fried chicken from a takeaway place, Shake Shack's is surprisingly really nice. I actually prefer it to the burgers. So
look, when we argue about Five Guys and Shake Shack, I'm happy to go either place. It truly is that Rio Ferdinand clip of just enjoy them both. You know that one. It really is that. But it's just sort of where you decide for it. No, I don't think. But I mean, we're going to go down that route forever.
Average.
Subway's a
I don't think it's bland. Average.
I don't think it's that bad. I'm picking a Subway over a Greg's.
Subway breakfast is terrible. I had it
you get Subway for breakfast.
If we have an early kickoff, we'll get a Subway breakfast normally.
That is United. Criminal.
You get the mega melt that you get from there, and the mega melt's not bad. It's the hash browns that are terrible. That's their issue.
No. It's all terrible. When you say we usually get it, I go once. I'm never getting this breakfast again.
What is that? What is that?
Table is like another. It's like a pub that it's like a chain that takes over pubs. And then they just do their own sort of thing with it. But again, it's just like genuinely, I'd rather eat at home than there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going. I don't want to go for a pub grub on a Friday night. Like it's not even good. Like when you think of English pub grub, it's not that. You want independent pub food when you talk about that. TGI's is a hard one. Average meal, good eats is where I think it lives.
I think I would put it in good eats because I do actually quite enjoy it. I do think it's too expensive, but I think there's a lot of stuff on the menu, and I do think a lot of it is quite nice. Do you remember the big burger? The big burger one of our friends had at the I can't remember where we were going at that stage.
If you had lactose intolerance, well, we was going to see Kendrick Lamar. That was it. If you had lactose intolerance and you ordered that bad boy, that came with about 4 deep fried mozzarella sticks and a halloumi burger and then normal burgers in it. It is expensive. The ribs are good. But yeah, I think ultimately at the O2 on an event night, TGI Fridays becomes like Gaucho steak money is what happens to it. But
I do think we're currently seeing the issue I was saying before, where you need something along with average and good eats because I think we're bunching a lot in together here.
If we could have a new tier for basic bitch white girl, this is where this would live. But I think Wagamama's is a pretty average meal. I think it's quite overhyped.
You know what? I had Wagamama's for the first time about a decade 2 days ago, and I had a
decade
from there. Yeah, genuinely, I have not gone Wagamama's apart from 2 days.
Is Wagamama's an American thing as well?
I don't think so.
I have no idea.
Is there Waggers in America? I don't think there is.
I will say Wagamama's. I will say
I talked about Nando's country, where we're. Wagamama's is another one that's probably
Oh yeah, they're
most
close
popular where we
competing.
are. So
Waggers has gone down, I think, as a Wagamama. I think it used to be better, and I think it's gone down. And it's also, again, it's like insanely expensive for what it is. I think Wagamama.
it is expensive. I'm not gonna lie. From what once again, I've had it 2 times in 10 years, so I can't really comment. But the one I had the other day was pretty nice, so I put it into the.
Next one is rather your home, 100%.
It's better than these, though. I'd rather eat at Weatherspoons than any of these.
I'd rather eat Harvester than Weatherspoons.
I don't think I would. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I would. I'm happy for it to live there. I'm not going to berate it, but
I would pretty much never go to a Spoons to
unless you're in an airport,
like for the purpose of eating food. I'm literally going to get a drink.
Where you have no other choice. Weatherspoons is all right.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
well, yeah. Agreed. Yeah, there you go. Wimpy.
It's not that. I can't like Wimpy. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but I'm having a Wimpy above all of them. But I'm having all of them above a Wimpy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put Wimpy below Burger King. I can't lie. Wimpy food is just nice than Burger King food. Once again, this is the issue with the tiers. Because
I don't think that is. I think Wimpy food. I think a Wimpy milkshake's all right, but if you're telling me that you're taking a Bender bun over a double bacon extra cheeseburger,
well, I'm not getting a Bender bun. That's why. But I just do think
the fact that it's on the menu is enough for me.
Like I would go Wimpy over Red Diner easily.
I actually just
or
need to take
have
them
in the same tier.
I need to take
really
because it's probably there's going to be a lot of people watching it. Well, not unfortunately, there's probably not
millions,
but the millions that are watching on this video right now. But more the point, there's going to be a high percentage of the people watching this when we're talking about a Bender bun or a Bender burger that don't actually know what it is.
Yeah, it's true.
So let me find an image of it. This is what a Bender burger is. It is a hot dog that is cut. Well, it's a Frankfurter. It's a hot dog cut in slices, so it goes in a circle, and then it is on a bed of grilled onions with a soggy bun because it will never be hard. And it is
tomato
just
in the middle of it.
I think that's just tomato ketchup on top of it, mate. I think it's just ketchup on it, mate.
Okay.
And Wimpy is like the definition of, I would say, mid, apart from the milkshakes.
Yeah, but my point is, you said it's the definition of mid, but you haven't put it in average, which is mid.
Yeah, but I think that is the middle tier. Yeah, that is literally the middle tier of all.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll say is I would go Wimpy over Burger King, Ed's Diner, and Subway. So.
Oh, I wouldn't go Wimpy over an Ed's. I'm picking an Ed's.
Nah.
But anyway, Yo Sushi. Where are we going with that?
I've never had Yo Sushi actually.
I think I've had it takeaway once. I've never sat down on the conveyor belt for it, which is a shame because I want to do
really
that.
Nice. I can't imagine.
No, I can't imagine.
It's probably like Wimpy level.
It's expensive. It's expensive. I'll say that.
Okay, all right.
It's not average.
It's the same price as a Wagamama.
It depending on what you get, but I would say the average meal someone gets from Yo Sushi is more expensive than a Wagamama's. But I will say it for the cuisine it is. It's not average for the cuisine, but for this list, I would just put it in average.
Okay. ZZ, I would put that in average.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah,
I'm happy to leave that there then. And Miller and Carter, the only
that's just such a different vibe to everything else in here.
It's such a different vibe that's here. Miller and Carter is different money.
It's good eats,
though. It is a good eat. If you go Miller and Carter, you are coming away with a happy belly. Right? How are we adjusting this? Do we think that this needs to go up like that?
I think so. I think I've probably got the most that I would change about it. So can I list off what I would do, and then you two can?
I'll put this back, and then we'll go. Right, go on.
So I would put Five Guys in the best. I would put KFC. I would put KFC in good.
Right.
And I personally, this one you won't agree with. That's fine. I would move Greg's and Wimpy up, and I would move Subway down personally.
I would rather
Louis, how you feel?
I'd rather have Subway.
Yeah, I'm rather having a Subway than Greg's.
I'm fine with Wimpy. I don't really care that much about Wimpy, if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, I'm not going to plant my flag and die on the Wimpy one. I would rather have, if the thing is as well, is I have found myself recently where I've gone to a Five Guys before a Shake Shack. And at Lakeside now, there is the choice of the two of them. If you go over there, there is one. They're literally opposite each other now. And I will accept that the Five Guys burger might be better, but I'm not. I'm dying on the hill that the chips are better at Shake Shack, and I don't even care.
The chips are absolutely not better than Five Guys chips.
No, they're better. They're crispy. They're not.
People
they're
see
not.
crinkle cut and it goes to their head. No,
but they're crispy.
If it's not the quality, the volume of chips you get from Five Guys should surely.
You just get too many from Five Guys.
You don't even get that many anymore. I guarantee you, the next time you get one, the next time you get an average order, not even like a small, if you just get a regular order of fries at Five Guys, where there was the whole meme where you'd get the cupful and then a bag, genuinely you won't even get that much now. It is not that much.
I roll out of Five Guys. I can't lie. I don't think I did too long ago, and I am.
The secret menu hack I have at Five Guys does change everything in this scenario here.
Well,
to be honest, it is different floats for different boats. It is the day I'm feeling what I want.
I will say
the drinks are better at Shake Shack as well. They are better.
Yeah.
If you want to move one down from average after that change, I think maybe we should, because it is heavier than the one underneath by quite some way. So I'll leave you two to move one down. And to be
if
honest,
one of them's moving down, though,
so
it's
just going down. Yeah, I don't know what I've said.
Wimpy's quite bland food. I think it just is. There's nothing that's flavorful. At Wimpy.
I think Pret's bland, but you know,
basically the same as a Burger King. But better,
I think Pret and Greg's are on the same level. And I don't really care about that much.
I don't really care. I can live with it there, so it does look. It's a bit prettier in that regard. But
I mean, these are all good places, so it makes sense we get more good eats. This is junk food. It's meant to be.
Yeah,
nice.
it is true. Right there, it is.
Nice, but yeah.
There's the screenshot for when we eventually do the post. Here is our tier list of UK fast food eats, and this part of the podcast was longer than the basketball part, so the purists are going to be fuming. But yeah, that's gonna wrap this one up there. If you're still watching us here at 46 minutes after we've spoken about fast food, please consider hitting that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, let us know your comments in the section down below. And yeah, I was going to wrap that one up there, but I'm on the wrong screen. I'm going to end it up there. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next podcast.